Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into a world where coffee fueled empires and the occasional backstabbing. Picture this: blurred lanterns cast shadows on velvet cushions. The air hums with cardamom and whispered plots. You'd think it's some trendy Istanbul speakeasy, but mind your step. Those floor tiles have swallowed more secrets than the Bosporus. Let's get real. You'd last 5 minutes here before accidentally insulting a vizier's mustache. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time below. I'll pretend to check if we're synced chronologically. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push aside a beaded curtain. Its clatter echoes like falling coins. Heat wraps around you, part wood smoke, part human breath. A server glides past carrying a copper tray, dozens of porcelain cups trembling like nervous sparrows. In 1555, Sultan Suleiman himself declared coffeehouses essential institutions. Historians still argue whether he needed the caffeine boost for empire building or just really hated napping. Your sandals stick to spilled syrup as you squeeze onto a cushion. To your left, a scholar mutters Aristotle quotes between sips. To your right, a silk merchant's laughter sharp enough to slice pomegranates. The first sip hits bitter as a tax collector's smile. They didn't add sugar back then. Sweetness was for the weak and French. Fun fact, patrons believed reading coffee grounds could predict wars. One account mentions a fortune teller spotting a horse made of blood in someone's cup. 3 days later, a bey's favorite stallion got trampled during a rebellion. Coincidence? Probably. Spooky? Absolutely. Your cup clinks against a mismatched saucer. This place reeks of reused dishware. Through the haze, you spot a man in ink-stained robes. He's scribbling something fervently, maybe poetry, maybe a grocery list. The server refills your drink without asking. Resistance is feudal Ottoman hospitality traps you like a fly in amber. Debates here don't stay debates. A theologian argues about predestination. His opponent hurls a date pit at his turban. Everyone cheers. Conflict resolution. Ottoman style. You shrink lower, suddenly aware your shoes are last season's Venetian design. The scent shifts. Someone's burning sandalwood resin. It blends with the coffee's acidity, creating an aroma historians call the smell of dying empires. Dramatic, sure, accurate. Ask the 6 guys whispering about assassinating a tax official 2 cushions over. A lute player starts plucking a tune you swear you've heard in a Brooklyn dive bar. Time bends. Modernity's just a stale remake. Huh. Your 3rd cup arrives. They've added cinnamon, either an upgrade or a warning. You drink anyway. Ever wonder why coffeehouses became banned 3 times in 16th century Istanbul? Some claim rulers feared caffeinated rebels. Others insist it was about tax evasion. The truth, probably a barista who gave Suleiman decaf by accident. Steam curls from your cup like ghostly fingers. That scholar's now napping on his Aristotle scroll, the original all-nighter fail. Across the room, two men clasp hands over a shared ibrik. Their grip lingers, a deal sealed, a betrayal postponed. Light bleeds through lattice windows, dawn's coming. The lute falters. Servers begin extinguishing lanterns, each snuff a miniature sunset. You drift past velvet cushions to where lamplight pools on scarred wooden tables, men hunched like herons over parchment, their fingers dyed indigo from endless scribbling, clutch clay cups crusted with yesterday's grounds. Reed pens scratch out pleas to distant lovers, merchant contracts, angry poems about unreliable camels. The air hums with caffeine and desperation. A scribe glances up, ink smeared like war paint across his cheek. His quill hovers mid-curse word. Across the room, an ibrik hisses like a vengeful goose. Rhythm syncs with his blinking. Scratch, scratch, gulp. Scratch, scratch, gulp. Ottoman productivity. Hack, circa 1550. Love letters were their bread and butter. Most couldn't read, let alone conjure decent metaphors. 2 acts per page got you phrases like, "Your eyes outshine the Bosphorus at dawn," or "Meet me behind the fig cart." The really good scribes sold rhyme schemes and acrostics. The greats, they forged royal seals and dodged beheadings. Here's a useless fact you'll share at awkward parties. Some pens were nibbed with crow feathers for official documents, goose for everyday drivel. Crow quills held finer lines. Goose split after 6 pages. The scribes knew this like Wi-Fi passwords. Watch this guy, turquoise ring glinting as he dips his pen. He's writing to a Spies, trader's 4th wife. Or maybe the traitor himself. Historians still argue whether half these romantic letters were coded grain reports. That smudge could be a tear or a cleverly plotted map of Venetian trade routes. You lean closer. Bad idea. The ibrik erupts, spraying your elbow with scalding froth. The scribe doesn't flinch. He's too busy conjugating verbs in margin notes. His cup trembles as a caravan thunders past outside. Grounds swirl into prophecies. They took their coffee horoscopes very seriously. A boy scurries in 12, 13, bearing fresh ink made from oak galls and rainwater. His hands shake under the weight of a phrase unfinished. The scribes ignore him. One mutters about aching calluses. Another hires the kid to draft a breakup letter, 2 sentences. Pay withheld for poor penmanship. Laughter bubbles up from the hookah lounge. The scribes scowl. Poetic inspiration can't compete with a decent knock-knock joke. Someone's banging a drum upstairs. Quills stutter. A man crumples his 3rd draft. The ibrik sings. You wonder if caffeine invented regret or just perfected it. Night deepens. Lanterns gutter. The boy sweeps fallen quills into a pile, tomorrow's kindling. A final letter gets sealed with candle wax and a thumbprint. Across the steam, the scribe mouths words he'll never send. The ibrik sighs into silence. Somewhere beyond these walls, a fig cart awaits. The fig cart's shadow stretches into a realm of damp wool and cedar resin. You're not the only one eavesdropping. Hooded figures cluster beneath smoke-blackened rafters, cloak hems dripping Balkan rain onto sawdust. Their whispers curl upward like burnt sugar. Armenian, Ladino, a dialect even the sultans forgot. One man nurses his cup like a poisoned chalice, left pinky crooked, Ottoman military caste. But that scar across his knuckles says mercenary, or butcher, or disgraced pianist. Historians still argue whether half the empire's intelligence corps were just failed musicians. His companion's beard glistens with something stronger than rainwater. Plum brandy, smuggled in a prayer vial. They're discussing wheat shortages in Edirne, or maybe troop movements in Brewed. Hard to tell. Every third word's a code, even cryptographers call playful. Here's a fact your barista won't know. Spies used coffeehouse chatter to map rumors like floodwaters. The really clever ones timed messages to ibrik boils, 3 hisses for ambush, 5 for bribe the vizier. Miss a bubble, lose a province. The mercenary traces a crescent in spilled grounds. His companion counters with a jagged line, Sarajevo's skyline. A child's drawing of teeth. You lean in. Big mistake. A waiter bumps your elbow, sloshing licorice black brew onto a ledger. The spy glares. His cup's rim bears 18 tiny nicks, 1 for each informant flipped, or birthdays forgotten. Rain drums harder. Someone's teaching a parrot to curse in Hungarian. A server drags a rag across the table, erasing empires. The spies switch to Crimean Gothic. Dead language, living utility. Only 3 scholars left on Earth understand it. Coincidentally, all 3 drowned last spring. Watch the mercenary's boots. Goat leather from Thessaloniki, stained with something that'll never wash out. He's using his thumbnail to tap Morse code against the cup. Pre-Morse code, technically. Ottomans had their own version involving donkey hooves. The quirkiest bit. Some spies filed messages under fingernails with lemon ink. Hold hands with the wrong person at sunset, and suddenly you're leaking troop deployments. Historians found 6 such nails in a Topkapi drainpipe last decade. Museum labels call them decorative grooming tools. Debates still rage about whether these places were intelligence hubs or just glorified complaint boxes. Sure, plots got hatched here, but so did grievances about overpriced lentils. For every coup plan, there were 10 scribbled notes like, "Who keeps watering the rotgut reiki?" A draft snuffs the nearest lamp. The mercenary stands, cloak shedding rainwater, and the faint stench of sheep panic. His exit stirs the sawdust, revealing a scrap of parchment. You pretend to tie your shoe. The paper's torn, but the message is clear. 3 coffee beans glued in a triangle. The ibrik starts its shriek again. By the time you look up, the spies have dissolved into the steam. Only their cups remain half full, cooling into tar. One sports lip marks at 10 and 2 o'clock. A clockmaker would appreciate the precision. An optimist would call it a smile. Rain fades to drizzle. Outside, a donkey brays in the exact cadence of the mercenaries' code taps. Coincidence? The street's too muddy to follow. You sip the dregs of someone's abandoned cup bitter, with undertones of cherry pits and panic. Somewhere beyond the fog, a province trembles. 3 servers converge to wipe the Spies' table. They're arguing about yesterday's baklava inventory. One swears a rat stole 12 pieces. Another blames the dervish who paid in lapis lazuli. The third, she's pocketing the leftover sugar cubes, a rebellion in miniature. The last lamp gutters. Cedar beams creak under the weight of unspoken alliances. You count 11 empty cups, or maybe 12. Shadows blur the math. A cat drags something shiny into the alley. Could be a locket. Could be a diplomat's molar. Dawn's still hours off, but the oven fires have started. Bakers need dough laced with poppy seeds and rumors from the night shift. Flour drifts over the threshold, covering every secret in a fine white lie. The coffeehouse inhales, exhales, waits for the next plague, coup, or gluten-free fad. You step through a haze of apricot-scented smoke, your sandals sticking to sugar spilled centuries ago. The room's a cathedral of indolence. Hookah coils slither like lazy serpents, their brass mouths exhaling clouds that cling to your eyelashes. Carved cedar benches sag under the weight of silk-robed loafers. One man balances a saucer on his belly, halva crumbs cascading into his beard with each wheeze. Historical footnote: these places birthed the original girl dinner. Patents from 1623 list strawberry, halva as a brain tonic, eaten by scholars before parsing Aristotle. Tastes better than kale powder, guaranteed. A server thrusts a clay tile at you, 3 sugar-dusted cubes, and a smear of something pink. Strawberry halva, a delicacy smuggled from Armenia via mule convoys. Each bites a paradox, melts like snow, then grips your teeth like a jealous lover. You chew slower. Savor the grit of pistachio shell fragments, bullets from some long-ago kitchen skirmish. Overhead, smoke curls into a forgotten debate. So if the soul is a river, does coffee pollute it? A philosopher's knapsack pokes out from under the table, stuffed with scrolls and dried mango. His opponent flings a hazelnut at him. Misses. Hits a dervish mid-spin. The spinning speeds up. Coincidence? Here's the quirk no tour guide mentions. Halva doubled as a clandestine postal service. Lovers baked tiny parchment notes into batches. Heat-activated ink blooming under syrup. Found one in 1992 beneath an Izmir bakery. The message: 3 moons since your touch. Send comin'. Archaeologists called it a grocery list. A crash snaps your neck around. A waiter's tray tilts. 18 demi-tosses slide into a diplomat's lap. The man doesn't flinch, just flicks grounds off his brocade robe and mutters, "A 3rd assassination attempt this week." His aide rolls her eyes, scribbling in a ledger already stained with slander. You settle onto a cushion that's seen better dynasties. Its golden tassels now the color of overcooked lentils. A hookah hose veers toward you, someone's offering a puff. The tips garnished with a crystallized violet. Tempting until you spot the lip marks. 73 overlapping layers of DNA. Laughter erupts by the drippy south window. A trio of jewelers argues over whose emerald can shatter the thickest glass. Their solution, a rigged pendulum made of teeth and twine. Spoiler, everyone loses. The emeralds get pawned for more halva. Debates still simmer about these rooms. Were they nests of free thought? Or just Ottoman man caves? Sure, Sufis debated metaphysics here. But ledgers show 80% of purchases were baklava and gossip. For every poetic breakthrough, there were 5 complaints about snoring benchmates. The dervish finally stops spinning. He's barefoot, soles blackened by charcoal from the 1592 kitchen fire, or maybe Sephardic morning rituals. His pupils dilate as he grabs your wrist. The answer's in the smoke, he slurs, points to a hookah plume morphing into a half-decent map of Crete. Your teeth ache from sugar. Time to switch to bitter things. You snag a porcelain cup abandoned near a hookah base, cold dregs of coffee brewed with pine resin. Swallow fast. Tastes like a forest fire's regret. A poet grabs the dervish's drum, starts reciting verses in a made-up dialect. Every third word rhymes with muskrat. The crowd hurls lemon peels. He dodges, grinning, reveals a gold tooth stolen from a Venetian ambassador's corpse. His day job, tax collector. Art's his side hustle. By the leaking window, a woman folds halva into rice paper, crafts a tiny owl, releases it onto the hookah coals. It writhes, unfolds, becomes ash. She nods, satisfied. Omens bake better at midnight, she insists. No one argues. Her earlobes drip with emeralds that have outlived 6 husbands. 3 servers weave through the chaos, trays stacked with emergency rosewater baklava. The diplomatic incidents resolved via syrup diplomacy. Enemies clink forks, vow eternal friendship, or at least a truce until the walnuts run out. The south window finally surrenders to a draft. Rain sneaks in hissing as it hits hookah coals. Steam births a phantom that looks suspiciously like Sultan Murad IV. He glares at the strawberry halva, vanishes with a pop. Someone applauds. Midnight creeps closer. Lanterns dim in solidarity with your eyelids. A juggler tries balancing coffee cups on his nose, fails spectacularly. The crash makes the dervish start spinning again. Faster this time, his shadow climbs the wall, morphs into something with too many arms. You blame the pine resin caffeine. The floor's a mosaic of hazards, squashed figs, wayward amber beads, a single pearl earring shaped like a teardrop. You pocket it. The owner's been dead since the tulip frenzy of 1725. She won't mind. Hour of the wolf approaches. The jewelers chant a lullaby in garbled Greek. Philosophers snore into their scrolls. Even the hookah serpents seem drowsy, their coils shedding sparks like weary constellations. Dawn's first smear of light silences the last giggle. Waiters dunk cups in a trough that hasn't been emptied since the plague year. A cat drags a halva owl's remains into the alley sugar trail, glittering like false hope. Your fingers stick together as you leave. 47 steps to the street, each one sweeter than the last. You duck beneath a low archway, cobwebs snagging your hair like spectral fingers. The air reeks of charred sugar and mule sweat. 14 copper kettles bubble in unison, their spouts weeping black tears onto coals. This is where they brew the treason. Common knowledge. Ottoman sultans banned coffeehouses 6 times between 1512 and 1660, claimed caffeine made subjects impertinent. Enforcement varied like your gym membership. A scrawny man thrusts a thimble-sized cup at you, its contents shimmering like crude oil. Drink slow, he warns. Last guy wrote a manifesto in rhyming couplets. The sip claws down your throat. Cinnamon, cardamom, and something arterial. Turns out the secret ingredients not so secret. Account books from 1611 reveal brewers added oxblood for viscosity. Health code. Never met her. Burlap sacks line the walls, their stencils marking cities that no longer exist. Trebizond, Acre, Thebes. You kneel to inspect one. A scorpion scuttles out, wearing a hat. Okay, maybe the brew's kicking in. Historians still bicker over why sultans feared this room. Was it the whispered plots, or the fact that their royal barista kept, accidentally, spilling scalding Joe on the harem's silk drapes? A woman materializes from the steam, her apron stained with 5 decades of conspiracy. She stirs a vat with a sword hilt. 3rd Crimean batch today, she rasps. The Venetians keep ordering takeout. Her left ear's missing. Frostbite, she says. You doubt it. Crunchy sediment settles at the bottom of your cup. Legends say grinding the beans with crushed emeralds made drinkers immune to arrows. Spoiler, 62 janissaries disproved that in 1583. Their graves are somewhere near the figs. A crash echoes from the alley. The brewmaster freezes. Crown taxers, he hisses. 3 apprentices start shoving sacks into a trapdoor, including the one spilling live hornets. Priorities. The thimble warms in your palm. Ottoman spies used these cups to transport coded messages, invisible ink activated by coffee enzymes. Found one in Topkapi's vaults in 2007. Translation. Sultan's new hat looks like a pregnant stork. Through the steam, shapes coalesce. A circle of rug merchants playing chess with coffee beans. A nun reading fortunes in the foam bubbles. That scorpion again, now smoking a pipe. You blink hard. The brewmaster offers a refill. His ladle's dented from pacifying overeager customers. You decline. He shrugs, downs it himself, and starts humming a folk song about pickled beets. Dawn's too close. Footsteps clatter above, boots versus the squeal of a confused chicken. Time evaporates like yesterday's roast. You exit the way you came, your shadow stretching 10 paces ahead. Rebellious little thing, 3 streets away, your pulse still thumps in Morse code. A stray cat eyes your coffee-stained fingers. It knows. They all know. You follow the rangy cat, its tail flicking like a metronome, until the drumbeat finds you. 37 steps down mud-thread lane. A fire pit cuts through the dark. Figures hunch on overturned crates, their faces half-lit by coals. At center stage, a man slaps goatskins stretched over cedar, the rhythms older than the stones beneath your feet. Meta-storytellers once rivaled imams for crowds. State archives show they drew 6,000 to Istanbul's hippodrome in 1592. The viziers took notes. His shadow looms against a washer's shack, 4 times his height. The drum pauses. Tonight, he rasps, we mourn Prince Sem, the throne thief who died eating bad oysters. A collective gasp. You notice a girl beside you mouthing every word. Superfan, the props baffle. A sock puppet with button eyes plays the Sultan. A coffee sack becomes the Adriatic Sea. Someone coughs. The meta glares, the sound evaporates. Here's the twist. Archivists found 14th century scrolls describing identical tales. Did the meta repeat stories? Or did stories repeat the meta? The puppeteer guards his answer behind a mouthful of walnut shells. He reenacts Sem's poisoning with a ladle and vinegar flask. The puppet gurgles theatrically. 3 children wail. Their mother shushes them with honey-dipped almonds. You catch a whiff of burnt cardamom. Someone's brewing solidarity. Between verses, apprentices circulate with cliff notes on parchment. In case you missed the allegory, one mutters. You decline. His frown could sour milk. The meta's teeth flash gold in the firelight. And then, the drum thumps. The Genoese captain stuffed Sem's corpse in a wine cask. A merchant vomits discreetly into his scarf. The storyteller preens. Odd fact, Mamluk spies recorded performances verbatim. Believed the tailies contained troop movement codes. Found one buried in a Cairene chicken coop, still debating if caravan of sorrows meant Ottoman infantry or just bad metaphor. A toddler pelts the stage with pistachio shells. The meta incorporates them into the plot. Sem's haunting rainfall of betrayal. Parents nod, impressed. Historians still argue whether these shows fueled rebellions or JUST Chinese letter hemorrhoid cures. Scroll margins from 1603 mention a Bayezid governor who laughed himself hernia-free during a Bursa performance. Placebo, you decide. The drum crescendos. Prince Sem's ghost supposedly haunts roads to this day, complaining about shellfish. The meta mimes a spectral wail. A donkey brays 3 streets over. Timing. Fire dwindles to embers. The crowd scatters, dropping grape leaves and confused theories. You linger. The storyteller peels off his beard, revealing a face younger than your boots. He winks, tosses the sock puppet into the ashes and vanishes down a well. Your left ear's ringing. Could be the drum. Could be residual caffeine from that fourth cup. As you turn homeward, the cat reappears, now wearing the button-eyed puppet on its tail. Some myths refuse to stay buried. The cat's puppet tail leads you past dye shops reeking of indigo into a vaulted room where men squint at porcelain. Maps unfurl across low tables, except these aren't maps. They're coffee dregs. A sailor scrapes grounds with a spoon. Zanzibar's currents hide here, he mutters, pointing at a clump resembling a squid. His companion scoffs. That's Anatolia. You're holding it upside down. Ottoman merchant fleets dominated Indian Ocean. Trade their captains swore by coffee's black compass. Records show Ibn Battuta described the ritual in 1331. You have expect a Starbucks logo on the ibrik. One zealot's beard drips with grounds. He's reconstructed Marco Polo's route using 16 cups Persia to Hangzhou in Arabica swirls. See, the Gobi Desert's clearly this desiccated foam patch. Quirk. A Venetian spy once mailed dried coffee sediments to Doge's palace. Claimed they revealed Turkish naval bases, turned out to be HIS Chinese letter. Breakfast leftovers. You accept a demi-tasse, thick as molten obsidian. The dregs cling in a Rorschach archipelago. A man with calligraphy-tattooed knuckles leans in. That jagged line, either the Indus River or your life's tragic third act. Historians still argue whether dreg reading was true cartography or just caffeinated pareidolia. Find a 1584 gilt scroll forbidding a grounds-based navigation during Ramadan. Someone took it seriously. A girl traces Sumatra's outline with her pinky. They're wrong, she whispers. Real maps live in the foam. She blows. A bubble bursts into the shape of Crete. Coincidence? Your caffeine-jittered hands aren't sure. 3 merchants bet a garnet necklace on the Java Current's location. Their cups tell conflicting stories. One shows a whirlpool, another a mermaid's tail. The third just spells, beware pickpockets in grounds. Dawn leaks through shutters. The dreg readers scatter, crumpling their Java cartography. Only the zealot remains, licking his cup's rim for lost fragments of Samarkand. The cat pounces, smearing his life's work into abstract mud. Your own cup beckons. The sludge vaguely resembles a ship, or a crooked hat, or that rash you had in Marrakesh. As you leave, the girl winks, tapping her temple. Maps are loudest when you stop looking. Outside, a donkey cart rattles by its cargo sacks, stenciled mocha. The breeze carries salt and roasted secrets. You pocket 2 beans, just in case. Some journeys refuse parchment. The alley's salt-stung breeze fades as you push through beaded curtains, suddenly drowning in musk amber and the creak of floorboards. A dozen veiled faces turn, then snap back to their cups. You've stumbled into the coffeehouse's shadowed heart, where desire curdles beneath propriety, like cream in hot Java. A woman's kohl-rimmed eyes lock onto yours. Her demi-tasse tilts 3 degrees left. Courtesan code for dangerous curiosity. Her pinky grazes the saucer's edge. Ottoman love manuals called this the nightingale's warning, a signal to retreat before the hunt begins. You pretend not to notice. She exhales through her nose, a sound like steam escaping a vengeful samovar. 2 janissaries slouch at a corner table, their helmets off, their whispers urgent. One traces a crescent in spilled grounds, the other folds a scrap of poetry into his sash. Historians still argue whether these trysts were romantic rebellion or just stress relief before battle. Their linked ankles under the table suggest both. A server deposits a cup before you, its surface rippling like black sea currents. The foam layer holds a single clove. Quirky Ottoman-era tip. Cloves meant 2 acts extra. Here could be a price or a threat. You glance up. The coal-eyed woman smirks, fingers now laced tight around her own cup, knuckles pale as unroasted beans. A laugh slices through the haze, sharp and honeyed. A young scribe's ink-smudged wrist brushes his companion's sleeve. The companion, a silk merchant's son, if the brocade's any clue, nearly upends his ibrik. Their knees haven't touched, won't, can't. Yet their shared saucer's edge is fogged with overlapping thumbprints. You sip. The coffee's laced with mastic resin, ancient Greek aphrodisiac, or just a barista's prank. Your tongue tingles. Across the room, a crone slams her cup. Foam splatters the ceiling. Lies, she hisses at the dregs. He died in Edirne, not Damascus. Her wedding bracelet glints, twinned with one on the server's wrist. Mother and son, lovers, co-conspirators. The plot thickens faster than foam over coals. 3 girls in pearl-embroidered yashmaks giggle behind floor cushions. One rolls a coffee bean across the table. It stops at a dead merchant's portrait glaring from the wall. Their laughter dies. Superstition claims beans that halt mid-roll harbor grudges. The boldest girl pops it in her mouth. Crunch. Tastes like cheap Yemeni roast, she declares. The portrait's eyes seem to narrow. A draft ruffles lantern flames. As the door opens, silence falls like a dropped tray. A figure glides in, robes weighted with lapis lazuli beads. The room holds its breath. Then recognition. Shoulders relax. It's just the mad poet from Galata Tower, here to hawk his latest ode to fig jam. Disappointment hangs thick. The coal-eyed woman seizes the distraction. Her cup clinks against yours. Maronite church, she murmurs. Dusk. Before you can ask which Maronite church, there are 17. She's a rustle of skirts vanishing upstairs. Your cup's dregs mock you, a Rorschach blot of bad decisions. That blob could be a scimitar, or a crooked minaret, or the world's clumsily drawn heart. You pocket the clove. Outside, dusk licks the horizon, somewhere between prayer call and disaster. The first stars wink like unblinking veiled eyes. Coincidence? Probably. The back of your neck prickles anyway. The soldier's calloused fingertips trace his cup's rim. 5 uneven circles mirroring scars on his thigh. His coffee steams, a childhood memory of plum orchards crushed into dark liquid. Janissaries marched to war at dawn 93 times, last year alone. Ottoman records stated plainly. But who counted the nights spent clutching porcelain instead of blades? Your bench creaks as you shift. He doesn't glance up. Professional paranoia keeps his gaze locked on the door. A scar splits his left eyebrow like misplaced calligraphy. The foam on his drink quivers. You catch bergamot and something earthier, quirky field manual tip from 1632. Janissaries added time to coffee for lion's courage. This smells like time and defeat. His companion, a moon-faced recruit, nibbles sesame halva. Crumbs dust his pristine uniform. Historians still argue whether these pre-battle rituals calmed nerves or stoked dread. The recruit's leg bounces under the table boot, tapping out the tempo of his pulse. Thump, thump, thump. The veteran's hand slams down silence. Cup's half full when you're lucky. He growls, first words since dawn. His accent curls around vowels like Eddern stonework. You've heard that drawl in spice markets, from men who'd sell you saffron or a slit throat. The recruit freezes mid-chew. A server refills their ibrik. You catch the veteran's flinch as boiling liquid nears his wrist. Burn scar. Or that time in Belgrade when molten lead rained like Allah's own wrath. His pinky twitches, a suppressed tremor. The recruit pretends not to see. Wind howls outside. It's the hungry Balkan kind that steals breath and ambition. The veteran drains his cup, winces as it clicks against the saucer. His teeth grind audibly. 23 years, he mutters to the dregs. 23 years of this fucking. The recruit clears his throat. The veteran's jaw snaps shut. Somewhere upstairs, a lute string snaps, twang echoing like a misfired arquebus. Both soldiers grab their hilts. The veteran recovers first. Shame flashes across his face before settling into a sneer. He flicks a ground-speckled clod of sugar at the recruit. Eat your skin and screams tonight. You spot the veteran's hidden hand stroking something under his sash. A worn leather pouch. Lock of hair. The recruit's eyes dart to your staring. 3 rapid blinks, janissary code for back off or bleed. You study the walls crumbling plaster instead. Their table holds clues only a spy or barista could love. 2 uneven puddles, condensation from nervous palms. A dented spoon bent at 7 degrees, improvised weapon. And 3 fig pits arranged in a defensive triangle. Ottoman tea leaf readers used fig remnants to predict battle odds. Tonight's formation, worse than a beheaded rooster. The recruit finally sips, his throat bobs like a hanged man's jig. Tastes like, he begins. The veteran's glare cuts him off. 11 seconds pass. A bead of sweat curves down the recruit's temple. It hesitates at his jawline before plunging onto his collar. Boots stomp outside. The veteran stands chair screeching like a wounded hawk. His cup tips, spins, settles. The dregs blur into a shape even you recognize a broken crescent moon. Superstition claims this means death by friendly fire. The recruit pales. Up the veteran barks. The boy scrambles, halva forgotten. As they exit, the veteran pauses at the threshold. His hand drifts to that hidden pouch. For a heartbeat between lantern flickers, you glimpse red thread wound around. Is that a child's tooth? Then he's gone, taking the draft's chill with him. The server sweeps their table, pocketing the bent spoon. Your own coffee's gone cold, but the aftertaste lingers, roasted beans and uneasy questions. Did he leave the fig pits as a warning, a confession, or just the debris of soldiers who stopped believing in tomorrow's sunrise? Outside, the wind shifts. Somewhere beyond the city walls, a drumbeat thuds. Quick, relentless, hungry. You swirl your cup. The grounds spell nothing now, just mud and meaningless stains, like the ones you'll scrub from your hands later, when the muezzin's cry drowns out the screams. The oud's first note hums through your sternum, a vibration older than Istanbul's cobblestones. You're half asleep when it starts, until the strings quiver like spider silk, catching dawn's first light. That's no ordinary lute. See the mother-of-pearl constellations inlaid on its neck. Real 17th century craftsmen smuggled those shells past Venetian trade blockades. Lanterns dim as the player leans in. His breath smells of almond oil and unresolved grudges. Every pluck paints pictures, a bizarre donkey's stubborn bray, a vizier's concubine laughing through her nose, those 3 stray cats who rule the bakery's back alley. Your fingers tap the rhythm on the table, syncopated, like a drunk muezzin's call to prayer. He doesn't use a pick. Fingernails grown for months tear at the strings, calluses thicker than janissary boot soles. Between verses, he spits sunflower husks into a brass tray. Click, pluck, spit. The Ottoman equivalent of a metronome. Someone behind you mutters, about 1660, the year Sultan's banned Aeolian tuning. Made people too melancholy, they whisper. You glance back, just a shadow with a hookah, hose coiled around its neck. The oud player's eyes narrow. His next chord slices the air, a discordant buzz that kicks your molars. Between songs, he rubs the instrument's belly with a cloth dipped in. Is that raki? Keeps the wood honest, he grozes when your eyebrows leap. Historians still argue whether musicians added opiates to oud resin for artistic clarity. Judging by his pupils, dilated like ink blots, you're betting 3 aspers on yes. A server slides you clove-studded apricots. They stick to your teeth mid-chew as the tune shifts, a lament for drowned sailors. The oud wails, creaks, sobs across the room. A silk merchant mimes hanging himself with his own turban. You snort. He glares. The moment curdles. Watch the player's pinky finger. It dances higher on the neck than proper technique allows. Quirky rumor. His great-granduncle performed for Suleiman the Magnificent with 2 fingers amputated. Sometimes less is more, a bard once told you in Smyrna. He died penniless, 3 young Sufis sway by the hearth, their ecstatic spins slowing to the music's crawl. One's sleeve brushes a hookah coal. The oud player winces before the fabric even smokes. His strings hush, anticipation thick as tahini. When the ember hits the floor, he strikes a minor chord. Ash crunches underfoot in perfect rhythm. Someone drops a copper into his cracked begging bowl. He ignores it, too busy tuning the high string to a bat's screech. Your coffee's ice cold now. You drink it anyway. Bitter, electric, perfect. He launches into the 9th variation of Layla's Fingers, a piece so scandalous the composer got exiled to Cyprus. Supposedly, the melody slithers, notes coiled like serpents in a royal bathtub. When he hits the forbidden tritone, the local imam's house 3 streets away spontaneously needs new window panes. Coincidence? A drunk scribe at the bar starts translating the music into Greek. Badly, the oud player responds by plucking out the scribe's hiccups, G hash, B flat, G hash again. Laughter erupts. Even the Sufis break their trance to chuckle. Your eyelids droop as he transitions into cradle songs. The strings murmur secrets your mother once hummed if your mother had 6 fingers and a grudge against the Habsburgs. The hearth's last log collapses. Oud notes melt into the ember hiss. Dawn licks the windows. The player stops mid-phrase, leaving a chord dangling like a hanged man's last breath. He packs up without applause. When he leaves, you notice his shadow has 7 fingers. Trick of the light, or just the oud's final prank. The first call to prayer drills through the walls. You blink, mouth cottony from clove breath and stolen dreams. Under the table, your foot's still tapping, searching for a rhythm that disappeared with the bats. That copper's still warm in your palm when a shadow drapes over the table. Its owner reeks of camel musk and unwashed saffron. You look up into a grin that could bankrupt a diamond merchant. 6 teeth, all gold. His robe's threadbare silk shimmers with 15 years of careful mending, a tapestry of coffee spills and desperate patching jobs. Friend. He slides onto the cushion without invitation. His knee cracks louder than a walnut. You seem the sort who appreciates conversions. Before you can ask, he slaps a velvet pouch on the table. Rubies skitter out, 8 flawed ones, sharp as shattered wine goblets. Your eyebrow lifts. He mistakes it for interest. Yemeni mocha, he breathes, leaning so close you taste dates on his words. Beans so rare, they're measured against human souls in Jahannam. His pinky jabs at your cold coffee cup. That swill, Ethiopian mulch, this, he shakes the pouch, is the Sultan's midnight secret. Roasted over my 3rd wife's dowry furniture. A server passes, avoiding eye contact. Smart man. You thumb a ruby. Its edge nicks your skin. Historians agree coffee beans circulated as currency in 16th century Mecca, cheaper to carry than silver, easier to hide than spices. This fool's either reenacting history or planning to fleece someone before dawn prayer. He pulls a bean from his sleeve, charred black, glazed with something sticky. Lick it, you decline, politely, through vomit reflexes. Your loss. He pops it in his mouth, crunching like a dog on chicken bones. Tastes like crushed emeralds and hindsight. His pupils shrink to poppy seeds. Ah, there's the opium. Across the room, a silk merchant chokes on a date pit. Your companion tenses, ready to bolt. Clever. If the Medici funded Ottoman espionage with wool tariffs, this guy's running a one-man black market from his belt buckle. He leans in, breath souring. 3 rubies, 1 sack, final offer. Wind rattles the shutters, sudden, violent, like a pack of jinn fighting over a kebab. The lantern above swings, casting his face into nightmare relief. That's no scar on his cheek. It's a brand, 3 circles linked like chainmail. You freeze. Ah, he touches the mark, almost tender. My former employer's farewell gift. His chuckle sounds like a tomb ceiling. Pro tip, never shortchange a mogul, prince's favorite concubine. The server returns, muttering about unpaid tabs. Your companion stands abruptly, beans forgotten. Rubies vanish back into the pouch. For a heartbeat, his swagger falters. You glimpse the boy who once traded his sister's wedding bracelets for a mule. Offer stands till the muezzin's 3rd echo. He tosses the sample bean into your cup. It sinks, leaving an oil slick that shimmers purple. But hurry, the Albanian smuggler who sold me these, found dead in Galata Tower yesterday. Pause, with his pockets full of pebbles. He melts into the crowd before you react. The bean dissolves slowly, tainting your coffee with a metallic aftertaste. You swirl the cup. Grounds form a shape, a crooked minaret, a fishhook, a noose. 3 tables over, someone drops a spoon. You jump. The grounds rearrange into a crude eye. Maybe skip the refill. Historians still argue whether the 1720 coffee tariff riots were really about taxes, or a Genoese merchant's botched chickpea deal. Across the room, your ruby-eyed friend argues with a baker. Flour flies. Gold teeth flash. The server shakes his head. You've seen that look before. It says, "This idiot tried to pay with a rooster last Tuesday." You pocket the bean. Dawn's first proper light breaches the windows. Weak tea compared to the previous hour's drama. The call to prayer starts its 5th round. Somewhere beyond the docks, a ship named the Dubious Prophet raises anchor. Its hull creaks under the weight of whatever desperate souls trade dignity for spice roots. Your coffee's gone full sludge now. You leave 2 aspers on the table, 1 for the server, 1 for the ghost of bad decisions past. The exit feels heavier than when you entered. Must be the rubies in your pocket, or the creeping realization you've seen that 3-circle brand before. On the oud player's wrist. The oud's last note hangs like a cobweb as you shuffle toward the back, where poets hunch over parchment like vultures circling rhyme schemes. Their hands are disasters. Ink stains bloom up to the elbows, quills snapped mid-metaphor. One man's beard has fused with a spill, his chin now permanently dipped in midnight. You squeeze past a table buried under ballads. A verse catches your eye. Your eyes are twin rebellions wrapped in coal. The rest is crossed out so violently, the paper's torn. Classic. Ottoman love poetry thrived here, whole dynasties of desire scribbled between sips. But Sultan Murad, IV, wasn't a fan. Banned coffeehouses for moral decay. In 1630, jokes on him, it just made the ink flow darker. A poet slams his fist, an inkwell leaps. Stains spread across his work like invading armies. You heathen liquid. He's using the fancy stuff, iron gall ink, the same poison that ate through Galileo's journals. Rookie move. 3 seats down, a washerwoman turned lyricist murmurs to her cup. She's that urban legend, the one who composed an epic using coffee grounds instead of letters. Critics called it unorthodox. She called it cheaper than parchment. 7 drafts, growls the bearded poet, flicking a cockroach off his page. 7. And still the Grand Vizier's nose ruins every couplet. He jabs his quill at a crude sketch. Someone's drawn a turnip where the man's face should be. You lean in. Too bulbous, not bulbous enough. He dips his quill, it snaps. A server materializes with a fresh one. These places knew their priorities. Caffeine first, censorship second. A breeze sneaks through the lattice. Pages flutter, unfinished guzzles brush your ankles. Historians still argue whether the coffeehouse poetry collapse was sparked by Ottoman censors or just awful metaphors about vineyard nipples. The washerwoman laughs, a sound like a cracked bell. She's swirling her cup, grounds clinging to the sides. See, she thrusts it at you. A falcon, no. A galley, no. Her smile fades. A closed door. Night crumples at the edges. Most writers have fled, their epics abandoned like half-eaten figs. Only the desperate remain. A teenager scratching odes to his neighbor's goat. A blind scribe dictating his memoir to a disinterested cat. Your pocket weighs heavy. That bean from the Ruby Man pulses like a second heart. You almost miss the poet who slides beside you, reeking of rosewater and bad decisions. Don't look, he hisses. A parchment scrap hits your lap. The Sultan's 3rd favorite horse weeps, for the rest is bloodstained. They're watching, he whispers, eyeing a janissary by the hearth. Burn it, bury it, beat it into a cement dough. You fold the paper, slow, deliberate. His breath hitches. They found Tahir's manuscript floating in the golden horn. Pages bloated, ink running like, he gulps, like his lungs. The server arrives with a tray of fresh cups. Steam curls into the ink-thick air, a lazy dance. You press the poem into the poet's palm. Your metaphor needs work. Dawn's a stubborn negotiator now. Shadows retreat, taking secrets and bad verse with them. At the door, the washerwoman hesitates. Her cup tilts, spilling dregs across the threshold. The pattern, a question mark, or maybe a hanged man. You linger as muezzins duel across the city. Somewhere above, a poet's unfinished line catches fire in the first sunbeam. Oh love, your absence is a coffeehouse without the rest turns to ash. You step into honeyed air, thick with burnt sugar and regret. Dawn stains the bakery's clay walls as the baker needs dough like it owes him money. His knuckles are cracked maps, routes to cities swallowed by dust storms. He never speaks. They say his tongue was cut out for reciting a sultana's dessert, order verbatim. But that's the rumor simmering in every coffeehouse. The secrets in his sesame rings, glossy coils dunked in fig syrup until they weep, an Ottoman traveler's snack, really fuel for caravans trekking the Silk Road. Mainstream historians agree the rings were practical until someone added rosewater and vanity. Now they're currency for gossip. A vizier's wife once traded a pearl necklace for the recipe, got 7 pounds of salt instead. The bakers grin that day. Legendary. Watch his hands. Flour swirls as he folds the dough 18 layers for luck. His thumbs press each sesame seed with surgical spite. A drop of sweat hits the counter. You swear it sizzles. Poppy milk, a regular mutters. He soaks the seeds in it, makes 'em stick, or maybe hallucinate. You blink, the baker winks. Or was that a twitch? His oven's a gaping maw devouring almond scraps. Heat warps the air, shimmers like a mirage over the recipe book, chained to the wall. Leather binding, iron lock. Scholars still debate whether it contains actual instructions or just bad poetry scribbled by a lovesick apprentice. The chain's been oiled daily for 40 years. Shines like a warning. A customer slams coins down. The usual. The baker slides a ring across the counter. It leaves a caramel trail. The man bites in, eyes fluttering. For 3 seconds, he's not a debt-ridden spice trader, just a boy stealing sweets from his mother's pantry. The baker nods, wiping his hands on an apron stained with generations of failed experiments. You lean closer. How'd you get the syrup too? He slams a rolling pin down, flour exploding like a ghost. Message received. Ottoman guild laws were brutal recipe thieves, had their thumbs chopped off. Though once, a guy tried smuggling secrets in a hollowed-out loaf. Got caught when his horse developed a sudden croissant addiction. The morning crowd thickens. A woman barges in holding a ring older than her marriage. This tastes like sadness, she wails. The baker inspects it, sniffs, snorts, produces a scalpel from his belt, and amputates a charred corner. She leaves clutching the repaired pastry like a holy relic. His assistant, a 12-year-old with mint, stems behind her ears, whispers the truth as she sweeps. He burns 1 batch daily. On purpose. You raise an eyebrow. For the ghosts, she says. They're terrible critics. A charred ring sits on the windowsill. By noon, it's gone. Heat clings to your skin as you exit. The bakery exhales cardamom and pettiness behind you. Streets wake up, donkey carts loaded with apricots, water sellers hawking liquid cut with lies. You lick syrup from your thumb. The aftertaste, not just sesame and regret. Something like memory. Like a man walking 7 mountain passes with a recipe tattooed on his ribs, scrubbing his own tongue raw to forget it. Dust sticks to your teeth. That's the first warning. You're no longer in the bakery, but ankle deep in a memory rutted by mule hooves. Caravan bells clank like drunken church spires, each note a mile marker on the road from Yemen. Mainstream historians will tell you Mocha was just a port. They're wrong. It's a verb here, something bones do when coffee hits blood. 14 camels sway under burlap sacks, their loads sweating jute-scented beads. Bean smugglers, these beasts. Ottoman law forbade exporting fertile seeds. Traders boiled them first to prevent sprouting elsewhere. A merchant sniffs a sack and scowls. Over-roasted again. His apprentice flinches. Blame the alchemist in Adna, he's working with a broken roaster. Someone always breaks the roaster. A mule driver presses a warm bean pod into your palm. Kiss it, you hesitate. His grin flashes gold. The prophet's tears, that's what grows inside. The pod splits, you find not a bean, but a dead scarab. Lucky, he crows, means extra sugar on Judgment Day. You spit grit. Every breath tastes of scorched earth and greed. A coffeehouse owner argues with a tax collector, their insults polished smooth by repetition. Your scales are cursed. Your brew's camel piss. 7 generations later, they'll meet at the same counter. Different faces. Same lies. Shadowless noon bleaches the road. A dropped bean becomes an ant's monolith. You wonder, did the Ottomans really spike siege tunnels with coffee to keep miners awake? Historians still argue whether that's strategy or folktale. Doesn't matter. The smell alone could have melted castle gates. A child darts past, pockets bulging with stolen beans. Guards give chase, then pause at a tea cart. Priorities. Coffee riots once burned Aleppo for 3 days. Sugar hoarders swung from coffeehouse signs. But mint tea, that's civil. You find a caravanserai courtyard, its fountain choked with bean husks. A storyteller swears Ethiopian goats discovered coffee by dancing on hind legs. Fact, he insists, though his beard smells of fig wine. Dregs swirl in your cup, they predict a sandstorm. Or maybe indigestion. A spice trader laughs. Read mine. His sludge forms a perfect crescent moon. Means I'll marry a Russian widow. His breath suggests he already did. 3 sips in your pulse hums oud strings. A camel's muffled roar vibrates through stone. They sing to each other at dawn, sadness like wet wool. Legend says their groans echo because swallowed coffee ghosts haunt their stomachs. Try unhearing that. The road thrums, 100 mules plodding toward Istanbul. Their beans will become backroom bribes and bridal dowries. 1 sack bears nail scratches, secret calculations, a love note, or just a bored guard's doodle. Sunset stains the horizon coffee ground black. You're handed a steaming cup, no sugar, by a man missing 9 fingers. Frostbite, the guild. He wiggles his pinky. Cinnamon allergy. Night falls. The caravans push on their bells, now fog thick. Those beans won't roast themselves. Somewhere ahead, a city that runs on steam and secrets. Somewhere behind the scarab in your pocket stirs, or maybe that's just your heartbeat, wild and bitter, and centuries too late. Your fingers hover above the cup, waiting for the liquid to cool. Too quick, and the stars lie. Too slow, and the oils congeal. A man in a moth-eaten turban hisses through gaps in his teeth. Ibrahim, the astrologer, sees all for 35 acts. His fingernail, black with grounds, traces constellations in the sludge. Ottoman rulers kept court Kavasai falsity for statecraft. Mainstream stuff. This guy's resume, dubious. Claims he predicted the 1715 locust swarm. Also claims he invented baklava. The chalkboard behind him lists today's specials: fortunes, coffee, pickled herring. Stick to the first two. He flips your cup, a practiced wrist flick. Grounds smear into a dragon devouring its tail. Beware whirlwinds and red-haired tacksmen. You glance at the door. A ginger guard licks honey off a ledger. Note taken. His thumbnail stabs a cluster of bubbles. Trouble here, a 3-masted ship in your future. You mumble that seafaring's illegal for locals. He shrugs. Then build it in your bathtub. Damp wool wafts from his sleeve as he leans closer. See this hook? Means you'll betray someone who quotes poetry. I don't know any poets. Perfect. They're exhausting. Historians still argue whether Suleiman delayed the siege of Vienna after a cup reading. The astrologer snorts. Easy money. Vienna's sludge always looks like a broken gate. A rat scampering over rafters dislodges a cobweb. He peers at its shadow in your cup. Ah, a promotion involving sheep. I'm a silk merchant. Start herding. He pockets your coins, grins at the clink. His breath smells of burnt honey and unverified credentials. Rumor says his star charts are stolen tavern menus, that Leo constellation. Lamb kebab orders. A breeze flutters the garret's soul candle. His face hardens. Grounds shift into a crescent moon pierced by a spear. Danger from the east, or a bad kebab. My rates for clarification. You leave him muttering at the dregs. Outside, the night smells of impending rain and poor choices. A donkey brays 3 streets over. The astrologer's voice carries through a cracked window. Told you about the sheep. Drops patter on clay tiles. Your cloak's hem grows heavy. Somewhere a 3-masted ship sinks in a puddle. Somewhere a poet adjusts his rhyme about betrayal. The stars above blur. Or maybe it's just the steam rising from 1,000 uncharted cups. Dawn licks the eastern sky, your breath fogging against latticework as ravens croak their matins. Servants sweep shredded mint leaves and broken clay into gutters. The coffeehouse exhales, its velvet cushions deflating like drunk noblemen. Last night's scribe snores face down on a nargileh, ink pooling beneath his cheek. A kitchen boy douses the hearth. Embers hiss, a requiem for midnight conspiracies. Ottoman spies once paid dishwashers to report seditious chatter. True story. That kid eyeing your boots. Probably just hungry. Probably. Feathers rustle above. 7 ravens perch on cedar beams, their talons clutching pilfered trinkets. A silver sugar spoon dangles from one's beak. Locals swear they're trained to steal for a reclusive perfumer. Nobody's found his shop. You kick a date pit. It skitters toward a puddle of cold brew. Historians still argue whether Suleiman's agents used ravens to carry encrypted notes. The birds cock their heads, black eyes mocking your ignorance. A yawn creaks through the empty hall. The astrologer's chalkboard now reads, "Closed, gone to consult the stars." And by herring, last night's dregs crust in abandoned cups, their prophecies evaporated. 3 bakers shuffle past, trays of sesame simmets balanced on their heads. One nods to the ravens. A ritual, a threat. The birds puff their chests. No simmets are shared. Your cloak smells of smoke and unresolved plotlines. That 3-masted ship in your future. Currently, a walnut shell floating in the puddle. You crush it underfoot, fate rebels with a satisfying crack. The scribe jerks awake, blinking at his ink-stained hands. Did I transcribe the vizier's poetry? A raven squawks. The scribe groans. Burn it. The bird cocks its head, considering arson regulations. Light bleeds through stained glass, splotching the floor like a drunk painter's finale. A cat weaves between tables, hunting ghostly mice. It pauses to hiss at your shadow. Fair. By the door, a single ivory chess piece glows in the gloom. Queen or pawn. Hard to tell without its crown. Like us all by dawn's cruel light, the hearth's last coal winks out. Ravens flex their wings, spoon thief leading the exodus. Their cawing fades into the clatter of waking Constantinople. Somewhere, a street vendor shouts about fresh yogurt, the end of magic, or just its daylight disguise. Rosewater steam coils from your cup each sip, blurring the spyglass pressed to your eye. You count shadows in the courtyard, 3 beggars, 8 melon vendors, and a suspiciously muscular spice merchant. Constantinople's rebellion hides in plain sight. The lens fogs again. Damn Ottoman optics. A servant refills your demitasse, clinking the tray louder than necessary. Your left eyelid twitches. Grand Vizier Sokollu Pasha executed 17 barbers for eavesdropping last spring. True story. This one breathes like a charging water buffalo. You note his face anyway. Across the square, a dervish swirls too slowly for ecstasy. His sash flutters, revealing a leather scroll case. Your finger tenses on the spyglass's focus wheel. Rosewater drips onto your silk robe, a blotch shaped like Anatolia. Symbolic? Probably not. The coffee hits your tongue, burnt cardamom and panic. 18 years since the Sultan's coffeehouse ban. Everyone ignored it. Historians still argue whether the edict aimed to curb rebellion or just bad poetry. The dervish vanishes behind a pastry cart. Your scribe coughs, a wet, tubercular sound. He's inked 3 pages without pausing. The umpteenth verse about Lael's eyelashes, Effendi. He mumbles something about metaphor density. You toss him a pistachio. Pay raises won't cure bad art. A courier pigeon lands on your table, its leg band smeared with fig jam. Decoded. The spice merchant just bought 17 pounds of Yemeni beans. You snort. Amateurs always overorder. The bird pecks your leftover baklava, crushing flaky layers into hieroglyphs. Laughter erupts from the fountain. 3 students reenact maimed Ai's conquest using apricots as cannonballs. 1 bomb splats near your shoe. You smile. Let them play. Maps of Vienna line their discarded satchels. Heat shimmers distort the spyglass's view, making a fruit seller's scar look like the Nile Delta. Your late wife once read coffee grounds as landscapes. Here, a mountain pass, she'd say, pointing at a clump of silt. You miss her lies. The scribe snaps his nib. A tragedy, he declares, likely describing both his love life and quill. You slide him your backup pen. He sniffs it. Is this scented with attar of roses? Act innocent. Deny everything. Sunlight glints off a rooftop. There, the dervish's scroll case exchanged for a cedar box. Your pulse quickens. 18 steps to intercept, but your legs stay rooted. Powers an illusion, the coffee whispers. Sultans and scribes dissolve under the same sun. The spyglass grows heavy. You lower it, noticing the servant's boots. Mud-caked, fresh Selenic clay. Interesting. The rogue governor flees north. You signal the pigeon. Let someone else chase him. Constantinople's headaches have enough authors already. Rosewater steam curls into the spyglass tube, etching tarnish along the brass. A waste of good perfume. Your father's voice barks in memory. Tools outlive purpose. He died clutching a rusted astrolabe. You sip the dregs. Tools and men both go stale. The students abandon their apricot war, drawn by a lute player's ballad. His refrain echoes your morning. The spy sees 7 shadows. The spy sees none. History won't record which version you hum into your empty cup. Amber beads whisper against your palm. 33 spheres, worn smooth by desperate thumbs. The Sufi opposite you breathes in sync with their rhythm. Inhale, pray, exhale, click. His white robe's coffee stains resemble Arabic glyphs, the universe's discarded drafts. You try not to stare. Mevlevi dervishes spun here until 1925. He murmurs, eyes still closed. True fact. Ataturk banned their whirling as backward. You wonder if anyone spun faster just to spite him. The bead clicks quicken. Across the room, a merchant sells Suleiman's own blend from flaking tin cans. 16 beans per coin. You smell burnt yesterdays. The Sufi pushes his cup toward you, grounds coagulating into shapes. See the fox with 3 tails. You nod. Lie. Legend claims 13th century mystics boiled coffee with crushed emeralds, believing it opened celestial gates. Modern scholars call it drug-fueled fantasy. You sip tentatively, tastes like pennies and pine resin. The beads freeze mid-count. 40 years I've sought ibrik wisdom through these. He taps the amber sphere, lost one in Edirne, replaced it with a cherry pit. Historians still debate whether missing beads invalidate prayer cycles. You resist asking about warranty policies. Lantern light catches his robe's stains, transforming them into fleeting words. There, mizzen, justice, or maybe a barista's name. The merchant's parrot squawks, coffee or death. Ottoman tax officers used that slogan. You throw a pistachio at it. Miss, he resumes counting. Click, click, wheeze. Your own breath sinks despite your skepticism. 14th bead, your childhood home's courtyard. 22nd, your dead brother's laugh. 30th, steam curling from a long-forgotten lover's cup. The Sufi smiles. Coincidence? Maybe. A waiter slams down a copper tray, breaking the chain. The Sufi blinks like a dazed owl. You glare, he shrugs. Kazan's 10% off special waits for no mystic. Capitalism, the real whirling dervish. Your thumb finds a bead carved with tiny ships, Ottoman galleys lost en route to India. Someone sobbed over this sphere once. Now it's polished to indifference. The parrot screeches again. You consider ordering tea next time. The Sufi pockets his beads, their final click echoing a musket shot. Remember, he rasps, folding stain-mapped robes. Coffee grounds never lie, but they do exaggerate. His sandals slap toward the door. The merchant's parrot flies after him, stealing a pistachio midair. You examine your cup's dregs. 3 blobs form a crooked ladder, or noose. Either way, it's decaf time. The decaf's bitterness lingers, like chewing on a bookmark. Your spoon clinks against porcelain. Then, a crash fractures the haze. A man stands silhouetted against furnace glow, hands clutching a twisted iron rod. Molten glass drips like vengeful honey. That cup took 40 days. His roar chars the ceiling beams. True story, Mehmet III banned luxury glassware to curb Venetian imports. Doesn't stop this madman. His kiln coughs crimson sparks. His latest creation lies in shards, a tulip-shaped cup fused with gold leaf. One fragment glints near your foot. You pocket it. Souvenirs beat therapy. 6 apprentices cower behind clay jars. The youngest mouths run. Too late. The glassblower seizes a half-formed vase, its neck bulging like an executioner's fist. Sultans demand perfection, but pay in counterfeit spurs. Historians still argue whether his 1612 arrest stemmed from rebellion or bad business decisions. He stabs the rod into molten silica. The furnace's maw gapes hotter. Did you know Ottoman bordellos traded stained glass shards as currency? Red for an hour, blue for all night. That cobalt sliver in your pocket just became awkward. Air hisses through his blowpipe. A swelling glass bubble emerges. He spins it too fast, a submarine jellyfish. The apprentices cross themselves. You're mesmerized. Hypnotism via poor anger management. They wanted tulips. His laughter curdles the steam. I'll give them thorns. The bubble bursts. 1,000 liquid needles. Everyone ducks. The kiln belches approval. A wet slap makes you turn. The youngest apprentice pries molten glass off his sandal, It stretches like caramel. He'll walk with a limp. And a great anecdote. The glass blur collapses onto a soot-stained cushion. His rage dissipates. Exhaustion smells like burnt apricots. You slide the cobalt fragment back onto his workbench. He doesn't notice. Priorities. 30 years, he mutters, stirring embers. Made cups for viziers, then they wanted tin. His wheeze mirrors the bellows. They say he once crafted a chalice so thin, dawn light turned wine into liquid rubies. Now, he's stuck supplying tourist traps. Distant muezzin cries drown his next curse. The apprentices sneak out, smart kids. You linger. Bad decisions are your brand. He offers you a chipped demo cup, clumsy and thick. Latest design. It weighs enough to brain a janissary. You fake admiration. He knows. Outside, the furnace glow fades. You examine your palm, tiny blisters from the stolen shard. Karma's still OTK with petty theft. Across the street, a parrot squawks. Same one from the Sufi's act, probably. This town recycles extras. The glassblower's final shout follows you. Tell them I'll outlive their cheap imports. Spoiler, he won't. But his shards still cut feet in antique markets. You order another decaf. The waiter winks, his teeth stained like old parchment. Widow's fingers curl around clay thimbles, bitter steam rising like ghostly veils. 5 empty chairs surround their table, each absence carved into the wood. You count sugar cubes. 7. Always uneven. Bad luck thickens the air. Their laughter cuts sharper than the saffron floating in their cups. 1 adjusts her peshtimal scarf, its indigo dye stolen from Phoenician shipwrecks. True fact, saffron trade routes bankrolled half the Aegean's pirate fleets. Her grin suggests she knows. We buried husbands, not tongues, the eldest rasps. Her cup clinks against a copper saucer. Ottoman widows legally inherited coffeehouses if left unpaid debts. Historians still argue whether this empowered them or trapped them in parchment purgatory. A younger widow stirs her brew counterclockwise, defiance in every rotation. Her late husband's dagger rests beside the sugar bowl, handle notched with 13 names. You overhear the baker muttering about cursed steel. You agree, cutlery should never outlive its owner. Midnight seeps through lattice windows. Their stories unwind like unraveled turbans, how one spouse drowned in the Bosporus clutching coffee beans, another poisoned by a rival's oversweetened demitasse. The dagger's owner, stabbed mid-sip during a backgammon game. Fair play's overrated. Salt washes grief, a spectacled widow declares. She crumbles halva into her cup, creating a sludge resembling wet sandstone. You decline her offer. Your stomach votes for self-preservation. The eldest produces a velvet pouch. Inside, sun-bleached coffee beans strung on silver wire. Wedding garlands, she croaks. Tradition dictated brides chew these during vows. A quirky tidbit. Some groundskeepers swear buried beans sprout into black-leafed shrubs, whispering marital secrets. You hope they're wrong. A mangy cat leaps onto the table paws, denting rosewater biscuits. The widow's coup. You recognize its mismatched eyes. The glass blur's furnace singed its tail last week. Istanbul's failings haunt every alley. The dagger widow slides her blade through a fig cake. He proposed here, she says. Sticky pulp oozes. Under that cedar beam, you glance up, carved initials half-eaten by termites. Love's hieroglyphs never last. 3 imams enter, beards dusted with henna. Silence falls. The widow's cups freeze mid-sip. Power shifts like loose sugar. The eldest widens her eyes, innocence, soured by decades of practice. Respectable women retire by curfew, the lead imam intones. His breath smells of anise and hypocrisy. The dagger's edge gleams. You hold yours. Respectable men knock, the halva widow retorts. Her spectacles fog with challenge. The imams retreat, robes swirling like caffeinated storm clouds. Applause erupts from shadowed tables. Even the cat seems impressed. Dregs settle. The youngest widow, her voice still honeyed, whispers, "We petitioned the Grand Mufti last week." She unfolds a decree. Red wax bleeds through the paper. Burial taxes waived if we relinquish the houses. Their scorn could curdle milk. 7 sugar cubes topple, rolling like miniature skulls. The dagger strikes parchment. A clean split. Problem solved. Outside, dawn stains the Galata Tower. You pocket a fallen sugar cube, souvenir of sanctioned rebellion. The widow's laughter follows you uphill. Bitter, sweet, resilient as the grounds beneath your soles. The eldest's final words linger. Widowhood's a second brew, stronger for the waiting. You almost believe her. 2 streets over, a shopkeeper unloads Sichuan peppercorns. The cat trails him, tail high. Everyone's hustling. Even ghosts. The cobblestone bites your soles through worn sandals, fitting punishment for approaching a rebel stall. You smell him before seeing him. Burnt leather and za'atar. His awning sags. A single brass buckle dangles like a hanged man. Pashas forbid red shoes. He bellows to no one. Everyone pretends not to stare. His latest creation glows on the workbench, crimson goatskin boots with silver thread. A death warrant in footwear form. True fact, Stanbul's, 1651. Sumptuary, laws banned red shoes for non-nobles. Violators risked exile, or worse. The cobbler spits on his iron. Steam hisses like a betrayed vizier. A velvet-trapped merchant hesitates. Could you perhaps make them mauve? Mauve. The cobbler slams his hammer. I don't dabble in cowardice. You note his apron patched with what looks like shredded tax receipts. His stitching needle winks in the sun. A beggar boy whispers 7 streets now sport clandestine scarlet sandals. You check nearby feet. Lies. Everyone's wearing brown. He tosses a scrap of lambskin at your chest. You foreigner, tell me, does this resemble a pasha's backside? The crowd freezes. Historians still argue whether Mustafa the cobbler existed, or if he's an amalgam of every artisan who ever flipped a sultan the bird. A slapstick comedy unfolds. 2 janissaries arrive, their boot buckles polished to spite God. The cobbler, accidentally, knocks over a vat of indigo dye. Their pristine leggings now resemble mottled eggplants. The crowd's snickers poison the air. Oops, he deadpans. Turmeric stains are worse. His apprentices, twins with matching lazy eyes, sneak ruby thread into military saddle orders. One winks at you. Empire toppling feels strangely casual today. The cobbler's final provocation, nailing a scarlet slipper to the Guildhall door. The mallet strikes echo like artillery fire. Merchants scatter. Pigeons riot. In the chaos, a European trader slips him Venetian glass beads, currency, for contraband patterns. You spot the cat from the widow's den licking dye off a cobblestone. Even felines choose sides now. Dusk brings inspectors. Their leader's mustache twitches at the nailed slipper. Remove this filth. The cobbler leans close. You first. 3 heartbeats pass. The inspector pivots, suddenly fascinated by a date vendor's scales. Defiance wins. For now. Quirky tidbit. Ottoman cobblers reportedly stashed anti-government gossip in hollow heels. Scholars found one centuries later, containing a recipe for fig liqueur and a doodle of a farting horse. Lamplighters arrive. The rebel kicks over his dye pots, creating a blood-red moat around his stall. A teen girl tosses him a pomegranate. He juggles it with a cobbler's knife flawlessly. Show off. Come back at dawn, he tells you, eyes gleaming like fresh riveted nails. We're making emerald slippers to match the Grand Mufti's mistress's earrings. The twins snort into their tea. As you leave, a shoe brush hits your shoulder. His parting gift. The bristles are suspiciously soft, likely stolen from a bathhouse. You pocket it. Istanbul runs on purloined whimsy, the taste of rebellion. Burnt coffee and pomegranate seeds. Sweet, charred, staining everything it touches. The lanterns dim as you enter. Smoke coils around your ankles like a friendly asp. 12 dervishes spin in formation, their felt hats tilting at identical angles. A server presses a clay cup into your hand. The coffee's so thick, the spoon stands upright. True thing, these whirling rituals began with Rumi's followers dancing to mirror celestial orbits. The brass band starts. Dervishes kick off their sandals, each big toe capped with a silver ring. They spin counterclockwise, as if unscrewing the world. You count rotations. 72. 73. Historians still argue whether the movement induces religious ecstasy or just really good vertigo. One dancer's hem flares, coffee stains pattern the fabric like constellations. A novice wobbles. His mentor pinches his earlobe hard enough to leave a crescent moon mark. The spinning steadies. They sand their rings with coffee grounds, whispers a man picking sesame seeds from his teeth, makes them shine like Ottoman treasure. His breath smells of anise and bad decisions. The tallest dervish locks eyes with you mid-twirl. His gaze says, "This isn't dancing, it's praying with your spleen." You gulp the coffee dregs. They taste of scorched earth and honey stolen from Byzantine bees. Newcomers always miss the math. How left feet stay rooted, while right soles scribe invisible arcs. A European tourist sketches furiously. His paper shows something between a dervish and a drunk stork. Robes flare again, secret pockets flash. One holds dates, another a kitten. The third reveals a folded letter with a wax seal. Knowledge you shouldn't possess clings like burrs. A cymbal crashes. Spinning stops. Dervishes pant, chests heaving, faces slick. Their stillness feels louder than the dance. Someone's silver ring rolls toward your foot. You pocket it. The metal's warm as fresh bread. Candles gutter. In the flicker, their shadows keep spinning. A server refills your cup. Don't stir it, he warns. The grounds will rise up. You fake a sip. Your molars vibrate. Quirky tidbit, some Sufi lodges hung coffee sacks from ceilings to infuse their prayers with caffeine. A monk once wrote, God's voice sounds clearer when your eyelids twitch. The dancers shed their outer robes. Underneath, tunics patched with fabric from Jerusalem, Samarkand, and that uncle's cousin's wedding shroud. One sports crimson thread from the cobbler's forbidden boots. Istanbul's rebellions always come full circle. A drummer's thumb bleeds. He wipes it on his turban, adds the stain to decades of others. The rhythm deepens. Watching dervishes now feels like eavesdropping on a thunderstorm's diary. You notice the floor tiles, each crescent and star worn smooth by centuries of souls. Your feet itch to join. A dervish shakes his head once, sharp. His message clear. Tourists trample the pattern. Midnight bells toll. The dancers exit backward, still bowing to some unseen presence. Their sweat hangs in the air like ghostly prayer beads. You find your stolen rings engraved with a single word. Listen, outside, a street dog sleeps curled around a cooling ibrik. The moon tints everything the blue of forgotten dreams. Dawn's still hours away, but the dervishes' shadows keep spinning behind your eyelids. Non-stop, relentless, a whirling prayer even atheists can't unsee. You step over the sleeping dog. Its paw twitches like it's dreaming of chasing ibriks. Moonlight leads you down an alley where jasmine spills over crumbling walls. Petals dust your shoulders like snowflakes made of perfume. A gate creaks, rusted hinges singing off-key. Inside, frozen fountains gleam dully. Stone troughs hold dead roses, their stems snapped at cruel angles. You kneel. Frost crackles on the soil, 1,000 tiny bones breaking. Historical records confirm Sultan Murad IV banned roses after a rival faction used them as rallying symbols. But this gardener defied the edict, his rebellion all thorns and velvet. Now ice throttles every bloom. Your fingers brush a surviving jasmine vine. Its white flowers glow faintly. A wet crunch makes you spin. An old man stands ankle deep in frostbitten marigolds, a pruning saw dangling from his belt. They bloomed blue the night Topkapi fell, he rasps. His breath smells of soil and sour milk. Not that anyone remembers. He spits, Saliva freezes midair. You notice his hands, each finger wrapped in linen strips stained with plant dyes. One palm cradles a withered bulb. Tulips, he snorts. The Dutch think they invented beauty. Amateurs. Quirky thing, Ottoman gardeners once smuggled rare bulbs in coffins, bribing grave diggers with saffron buns. The man kicks a frozen puddle. My apprentice tried grafting apple branches onto cypress trees. Madness. A nightingale lands on his shoulder, its song hoarse from the cold. The bird pecks at his ear. He sighs. Yes, yes, I'll feed you later. Historians still argue whether the palace's black tulips were a documented species or just moldy regular ones. The gardener yanks a weed. It comes up trailing a human molar. You pretend not to see. He points to a shattered teacup, half buried in ice. Persian diplomat dropped that in 1612, died laughing at a eunuch's joke. The shards form a crooked smile. You offer your stolen silver ring. He snatches it, holds it to the moon. Dervish trash, he mutters, but pockets it anyway. His tunic's hem whispers against frosted grass, 3 embroidered coffee cups along the seam. The nightingale dive bombs your head. You duck. The gardener wheezes, a sound like bellows collapsing. She mistakes your hair for nesting material. Been happening since the harem fire. A breeze stirs dead leaves. They scrape across stone like skeleton fingers. Some claim Suleiman's roses grew thorns to fight their own battles. You believe it. He uncorks a vial, drops amber liquid into the jasmine's roots. Steam rises. New buds erupt, each petal edged with faint gold. Their scent makes your temples ache. Ottoman growth serum, he grumbles, stole the formula from a Hungarian alchemist's wet nurse. The nightingale vomits a jasmine bud into his hand. He pops it into his mouth, chews slowly. Sustenance, he explains. You decline his offer to try one. Dawn's first gray fingers claw the horizon. The gardener spits a seed into your palm. Plant it where soldiers' bones fertilize the soil. Maybe something decent will grow. Ice creaks overhead. A fig tree's branches strain under the weight of frost. The gardener disappears into a tool shed. You hear clattering, then the distinct gurgle of someone drinking straight from a samovar. When you leave, the nightingale tugs a hair from your head. Wind carries it eastward, a dark thread against gathering light. Somewhere, a dervish's ring spins on a frozen fountain. Muffled, waiting, the dervish's ring spins slower now, ice thickening around its silver curves. You follow the nightingale's stolen hair eastward, past ash-stained rooftops, where smoke still whispers of samovars. Down we go into vaulted cellars, where sugar crusts the walls like glittering barnacles. A marble counter stretches ahead, cracked by something heavier than time. 2 porcelain bowls glare at each other across its length, one brimming with coal-black crystals, the other powdered white as bone. You dip a finger. The white powder leaves a metallic sting. Historical ledgers confirm the Erstuğ and Vural families supplied Ottoman and Safavid courts for centuries, their rivalry baked into every wedding baklava, their truce held through plagues and coups, until a coffee cup slid too far. Footsteps echo clipped and deliberate. A woman enters, her necklace woven from dried coffee cherries. She licks sugar off a dagger's edge. Tastes like cowardice, she sneers. The blade's hilt bears the urs to a crest, a rooster impaling a date. Fun fact, some merchant clans added ox blood to sugar syrup for richer color. She scrapes her knife across the counter. Great-grandmother's recipe, boiled with shavings of Genoese cannons, makes teeth rot faster. Frost creeps along the ceiling, strange for a sugar vault. You spot a mummified pigeon in the rafters, its beak stuffed with cloves. Our executioner, the woman shrugs, pecked traitors' eyes while they slept. Efficient. Historians still argue whether the fatal spill was clumsy revenge or Venetian sabotage. She kicks a dented copper urn. It vomits cinnamon sticks and mouse skulls. Fools, you sweeten coffee with trust once, murder becomes habit. Shouts erupt upstairs. Someone splinters a cedar door. A man tumbles down the steps, his beard dusted white like a powdered wig. He clutches a ruby-encrusted spoon like a scepter. Layla, you shriveled fig. The woman Layla grins. Her teeth gleam unnaturally black. Uncle Badir, come to sell more secrets to the Persians. She flicks a sugar crystal. It embeds in his forehead. He bleeds syrup. You duck as a glass jar sails overhead, shatters against a portrait of Suleiman, the drunkard. A 16-generation-old stain spreads across his embroidered lap. The painting's plaque reads, "First to add rum to Turkish coffee." Quirky bit, Safavid spies used hollow sugar loaves to smuggle Nubian coffee beans. Badir wipes his face, smears crimson sugar down his cheeks. You're stirring an ibrik with no water, niece. Layla unscrews a flask, dumps liquid over the black sugar. The grains writhe like ants. French gunpowder, she purrs, burns sweeter than your lies. A sulphurous tang claws your throat. The pigeon corpse dislodges, plummets into Badir's arms. He screams, flings it into a barrel. Molasses oozes like tar. Mother's dowry, Layla shrieks. You've ruined the viscosity. Her dagger finds his shoulder, but lodges in a scapula-shaped candy mold. They freeze, both panting. Badir tugs the blade free, offers it handle first. His blood pools around a drain shaped like the Persian lion. Layla sneers, but takes the knife. You step on a loose tile. It plays 3 notes from a forgotten Anatolian lullaby. They turn, eyes narrowing in unison. Badir snaps. A sugar spun rose from the counter. Eavesdroppers get cavities, he growls. Layla scoops dark sugar into a parchment cone. Tell the Venetian dog his tariffs still stink of cowardice. She seals it with wax, presses it into your palm. Through the paper, warmth pulses like a trapped heartbeat. As you retreat upstairs, their hissed bargains follow. Half the Nile's saltpeter, 2 Hungarian honey vaults, that emerald-encrusted ibriks you shaymate at Selim's funeral. Dawn stains the street blood orange. The dervish's ring lies still, frozen to a cobblestone. You place Layla's sugar packet on its center. Ice crawls over the paper, preserving spite in crystalline suspension. Somewhere beneath your feet, a copper urn shrieks as it's beaten into a ceasefire. The nightingale's stolen hair drifts into a baker's chimney, flaring briefly before vanishing in fragrant smoke. The cobblestone's cold seeps through your soles. Dawn's blood orange hue sours to curdled milk. Behind a warped oak door, gears rasp like a tuberculosis symphony. You push, hinges scream in 6 different octaves. Inside, a hunched figure winds a brass spine protruding from his back. His chest cavity glints, gears grinding where ribs should be. 60 ticks per labored breath. An Ottoman-era pocket watch dangles from his trachea, its hands spinning backward. Close the door, he croaks. You're letting in entropy. Historical records show Ottoman clockmakers built prayer time mechanisms into public sundials. His workshop walls sag under dismantled tower clock guts. One gear wheel large enough to roast a goat. He dips a teaspoon into his thoracic cavity, scoops out oil-blackened cogs. Lubricants low, past the lamb fat. Fun fact, Suleiman's engineers once buried a defective celestial clock under the Blue Mosque to avoid embarrassment. The clockmaker snorts, flicking a scorpion off his workbench. Stupidest urban myth, we dumped it in the Golden Horn. Still ticks at midnight, fishermen hear it. Your shadow stretches across his desk, the hands on his throat watch accelerate. He freezes. Don't move. A pendulum swings from his pelvis as he inches closer. His breath reeks of rancid olive oil and burnt angelica root. Ah, you've been near fural sugar. Their greed warps chronal fields. Historians still argue whether rogue clockmakers altered siege timelines during the Baghdad campaigns. He prods your palm with a screwdriver, its tip stained blue with century-old lapis ink. Time's a jammed loom here, stutter-stitched. Notice the hiccups. A teacup shatters upstairs, its pieces levitate mid-fall. Molten glass droplets hover like amber jellyfish. The clockmaker sighs. Apprentice's 4th attempt at coffee today. Kid brews so slow, the ibrik rusts between pores. You point to his chest gears. One sprocket spins counterclockwise. He slams a hand over it. None of your business. His thumbnail unscrews a plate beneath his collarbone, reveals miniature gallows with a dangling hourglass. Personalized memento mori. Gift from the Hofburg Palace watchmaker. We disagreed on escapement mechanics. A bell tolls outside. He convulses, gears seizing. The pocket watch chimes 13. Damn Armenian quarters new clock door. Rushed craftsmanship. He kicks a toolbox, sends springs coiling like metallic tapeworms across the floor. Modern idiots think time's linear. It's a drunken choroglue dance. He yanks a lever, the room dims. Constellations flare across the ceiling, their patterns mirroring Istanbul's 1543 sky. Wasted a decade aligning these. No, what's worse than a collapsing empire? Combative astronomy. His finger trails Orion's belt, sparks shower from the stars. Sultan's astrologer called it tacky. I replaced his zodiac charts with donkey horoscopes. The apprentice thumps downstairs a boy with eyebrows singed off. He offers a thimble of espresso. The clockmaker sniffs. Boiled too long, tastes like maimed Ai's jockstrap. The kid mutters, "At least I don't lubricate with sheep drippings." A draft whirls through, star projections shudder. The workshop doors slam. Your shadow divides into 3 faint copies. The clockmaker groans. Ah, the 9-15 split. Hold still, it passes. One shadow creeps toward a drawer labeled Sultan's missing hours. Do not weigh. He intercepts it with a magnetized crowbar. You'll need 6 extra spleens to handle that metadata. The shadows snap back into one, briefly shaped like a double-headed eagle. Annoying, isn't it? Habsburgs contaminated our horological aura during that border skirmish. Never did get the stench out. A church bell chimes again. The pocket watch explodes, peppering walls with shrapnel shards. He plucks a gear fragment from his cheek. Slight miscalculation. The apprentice bandages his neck with a torn star chart. He says that every Tuesday. You point to a massive timepiece sucking darkness into its pendulum. Ah, the Karasat. The clockmaker spits on its casing, the saliva sizzles. Forged from Balkan cannon metal, absorbs regrets. Touch it, you'll relive your worst haircut forever. The face has no numbers, just Ottoman curses etched in reciprocal spirals. Dust motes freeze midair. The clockmaker tenses. Visitors, janissary ghosts materialize, their spectral scimitars nicking the workshop's temporal shielding. He grabs a whale oil lantern. They're here for the Karasat. Distract them. I'll reset the escapement. You lob a gear at the lead ghost. It phases through his armor and exits his buttocks. He howls a 17th century obscenity. The clockmaker laughs, a sound like broken clock springs. Aim for the spurs. Always grafted those 2 loose. The Karasat groans, its weights plunge through the floor. Ceiling cracks branch like reverse lightning. Almost there. The apprentice rams a screwdriver into the backwash regulator. Chronal pressure pops your eardrums. Silence. The workshop reassembles. Walls sweat rusty water. Ghosts gone. The clockmaker slumps, steam venting from his ear canals. Nishan-size hairy nostrils. That was close. He removes his left eye, polishes the telescopic lens embedded in the socket. Apologies. Misjudged the decoherence field. Outside, a street vendor hawks freshly baked simmet. The scent of sesame and hypocrisy wafts through a bullet hole in the wall. The clockmaker seals his chest plate with beeswax. Come back Tuesday. We're recalibrating the 1391 siege of Bursa. Bring coffee and a live tortoise for calibration. His apprentice mutters, he'll forget by noon. The Karasat chimes once, like a phoenix clearing its throat. Your shadow detaches, skitters into the nearest sundial's embrace. The clockmaker doesn't notice. He's too busy arguing with his spleen's auxiliary pendulum. Your shadow melts from the sundial's grip, its edges frayed like burnt parchment. Dawn stains Galatas, rooftops the color of watered wine. And there he sits, a blind beggar, cradling a chipped porcelain cup, almond milk, pooling around his threadbare slippers. Coins clink in rhythm with his mumbled prayers. All mercy is bitter when poured by the guilty, he rasps. You crouch, copper axe ready, but freeze. Ottoman charity laws required donors to avert their eyes from recipients. His milky pupils track your hesitation. Pride knocked first. Now shame rings the bell. His cup trembles, sweetened milk dribbles onto cobbles swarming with thirsty ants. Historians confirm almond milk became Istanbul's Lenten staple when dairy fasting began. The beggar sniffs, nostrils flaring at your untouched coin. Had a patron once, a spice merchant's third wife, drowned my cup in saffron to improve my humors, tasted like gilded regret. Fun fact, beggar guilds here once fined members for overly aggressive lamentations. His left sleeve flutters, a guild tattoo peeks through the holes. Crossed spoons over a cracked bowl. Our code was clear, no wailing after sunset. Ruins the kebab vendor's appetites. A boy jostles past, spilling roasted chickpeas. The beggar's hand darts, catches 3 mid-fall. Reflexes from my minaret days caught more pigeons than prayers. He crunches, grins at your surprise. Muezzin gig didn't last. Too many interpretive recitations. Historians still argue whether almond milk in coffee signaled piety or hidden lactose intolerance among elites. He rubs his cup's rim, a discordant hum fills the air. Rich men's kitchens reek of vanilla and shame. They strain their milk through silk. We strain ours through silence. A janissary's ghost materializes, scimitar clanking, and drops a splintered ivory die into the milk. The beggar sighs, Kuzgun's back, gambled away his afterlife playing knucklebones with church gargoyles. The spectral soldier gestures, milk boils black. The beggar upends his cup, adds texture. The dye dissolves, reforms as a pearl. You flinch. Ah, his wife's last dowry piece. The beggar pockets it, milk drips from his wrist like liquid moonlight. 50 years dead, still paying her debts. A breeze carries the tang of drying mackerel from the docks. The beggar tilts his head, listening to vanished street cries. Hear that, the hemp seller's song, off-key but louder than his creditors. His chuckle curdles into a cough, a sound like walnuts grinding. 3 dervishes whirl past, their hems kick up dust devils. The beggar's cup overflows again. Almond milk swirls into a miniature whirlpool. Dervish talesman, stir chaos into any still liquid. He licks his thumb, wipes the vortex away. Messy drinkers, worse dancers. A donkey brays, its saddlebags leaking cardamom pods. The beggar's nostrils flare. Bayezid's kitchen revolt. Bulk spices mean unpaid mercenaries. He pockets a fallen pod. It glows faintly in his palm. Waste not. Even omens taste better ground. You kneel, coin finally extended. He grabs your wrist, cold fingers like rusted clockwork. Wait. A bead of milk snakes down his arm, now black as morning ink. Guilt's already poisoned this alms. Drink it yourself, or feed it to the harbor. The cup warms in your grip, its rim chipped from decades of teeth. Almond milk coats your tongue, cloves, nutmeg, salt. The beggar smiles, gums gleaming like wet knives. Sultans drowned descent in it, clever, silencing tongues with something so creamy. Church bells erupt, the milk curdles. Pigeons scatter, wing beats sinking to the tolls. The beggar folds into shadow, voice trailing like smoke. Sundown's congregation calls. Don't linger, stale mercy belongs to the rats. His absence leaves only a sticky ring on the stones and the aftertaste of heresy. You step into a smoke-choked courtyard. A brass brazier devours parchment rivers. A man crouches beside it, face lit by dying maps. They told me ink doesn't burn liars. Each page curls into ash ghosts, sailors, screams trapped in the soot. Your boot crunches a half-charred globe. Mediterranean coastlines flake off like dead skin. The man stabs flames with an iron stylus. 50 years plotting coastlines, erased in one night. Ottoman mapmakers once paid spies in saffron to steal Venetian sea charts, though edicts forbade it. He tosses a leather-bound atlas into the fire. Embers spiral up, a swarm of drunken fireflies. My masterpiece, a continent shaped like the Sultan's lapdog. Cubans especially loved the tale. His laugh sounds like a broken bellows. Rumor claims master cartographers brewed ink with fermented figs, giving coastlines a mature vintage look. You spot a flask in his sash. Experiment failed. Turned the Nile into umber molasses. Cleopatra's nose looked sunburnt for weeks. Historians still argue whether Cyprus vanished from maps due to incompetence or a vendetta against its wine merchants. He spits into the flames, hisses steam. Sultans hate nothing more than accurate shorelines. Men sail slower when they're entertained. A scrap escapes the brazier, you catch it. Constantinople's harbor swirls with sea monsters. Ah, the Sultan's favorite bedtime story. He demanded daily Kraken updates. His finger traces a clawed tentacle. Add 10 meters each month, kept him invested. Moonlight glints on his brass compass, needle stuck at southwest. Pointing toward Seville. A little gift for Castilian tax collectors. He winks. Let them hunt unicorns in the Andes. His knuckles bear the calluses of a lifetime squeezing, lies onto vellum. Wind whirls ash into a miniature storm. You cough, taste charred rhubarb, and regret. Careful. That's ambrosia, meridian ash, only combustible geography textbook ever written. He kicks the brazier, sparks, ignite, a withered fig tree. There, better light for our tragedy. From his cloak, he pulls a singed parchment, a child's doodle of ships and squid. First commission. Age 9. Portolan chart of my mother's soup kettle. The ink bleeds as he holds it over flames. She said my islands looked like dumplings. A black cat weaves through his legs, tail flicking like a metronome. Meet my proofreader. Caught 37 typos in the Aegean last year. The creature hisses at a burning map of Crete, disagrees with my minotaur placement. Purists, he soothes the cat with an anchovy from his pocket. Drafted Malta 3 times, always crumbled. Maybe God enjoys erasing the Maltese. His smirk fades, not my wittiest epitaph. Sudden rain quenches the fire, ash paste clings to your sandals. The cartographer sighs. Typical. Heaven's clerks hate clean endings. He offers you a salvaged fragment gold coastline on Indigo, Antikythera's western shoals. Only truth I ever drew. Before you can refuse, he stuffs it into your sash. Hide it. If the janissaries ask, it's a kebab receipt. His shoulders slump, a man becoming his own footnote. Tell the coffee grinders I paid my tab. Dawn stains the courtyard. He kicks the brazier, dead embers skitter toward the docks. Last tip, never trust a map without coffee stains. The honest ones get dunked during arguments. His silhouette blurs into the rising smoke, another vanished landmark. You unfold the fragment. Blinked letters surface in the damp. Hic Dracones. The ink smears as laughter echoes from the harbor. A Galata fishmonger haggling over mackerel. Salt wind scrubs the confession from your hands, leaving only a cerulean stain. The air thickens with cardamom and unshed tears. You've wandered into the widow's hour. A dozen hands hover over cups, fingertips sketching circles on porcelain rims. Each rotation imitates caravans stuck in endless loops. Aleppo to Ankara, Ankara to ashes. An old woman thrusts her demitasse at you. Sludge clings to the sides like tar. Read it. They say strangers see clearer. Ottoman mothers once spent fortunes on coffee diviners after the Devshirme, those blood tax years when janissaries snatched Christian boys from Balkan villages. Her stubby nail stabs at the grounds. Is that a ship or a shovel? You squint. The mess resembles a chicken mid-sneeze. Could be a fortress tower, she snorts. Last reader swore it showed Yusuf herding goats in Sofia. Goats. Her laugh curdles into a cough. He hated livestock. Stole my fig knife to whittle toy guillams at 7. A fig seller drifts by tray piled with split fruit weeping seeds. She buys 2, stuffing one into her cheek. He'll return lean and lipless. Janissary barbers love overzealous shaves. The pensioner beside her swirls her cup faster, black liquid sloshes. Loyalties for sultans, sons belong to mothers. Rain streaks the latticed window, each drop magnifies the dregs, swirls. Someone whispers how imperial coffee sieves were woven from peacock quills to filter lies from the brew. The hawker hawking them claimed peacocks screeched at false prophecies. Tools of the trade now gather dust in Eddern pawnshops, alongside miniature portraits of mustached infants. A hawk's shadow rips across the table, stolen baklava clutched in talons. The pensioner hurls her spoon. Thief, that was for my asses. The bird cackles, syrup glazing its wings. See, Even winged rats take our sweets. She collapses onto cushions, sudden as a snapped lute string. Her cup tips, the dregs sketch a jagged line, Smyrna's coastline before the earthquake. Someone lights a nargile, cherry tobacco smothers the scent of morning. A widow unravels her headscarf, revealing hair white as unroasted beans. 40 years I've read these grounds, learned nothing but the shape of shame. She stabs her pinky into the sludge, turned Mehmet's first wage into cherries, last wage into a shroud. Historians still argue whether coffee divination began as Coptic rite or drunkard's prank. You watch her smear the dregs into nothingness. They say the grounds never lie, but what if the cups do? Her neighbor flips her saucer, a brown Rorschach puddle. There, the Hagia Sophia collapsed again. Or maybe it's a fat partridge. Midnight peels layers from the room, velvet cushions gone threadbare, gilt peeled off hookahs. The fig seller returns, offering a syrup-coated blade. Carve your question into the rind. Sweetens the truth. The pensioner etches a name dagger shaking through the S cedilla and U umlaut. Rustum, Rustum, Rustum. Dawn licks the windowsills, earthquake cracks in the plaster yawn wider. One mother presses her cup to the wall, aligning sludge stains with fissures. They match, see. His road follows the fault line. A girl of 14 stirs silt in her untouched coffee. I dreamt he wore Venetian glass spectacles, since when do janissaries need? The fig seller pockets her knife, blade sticky with syllabic syrup. Go home. Your sons are ash-faced bureaucrats now, drafting tax codes in languages they've forgotten. She spits a seed into her empty cup, divination for the desperate. You're just practiced. But the white-haired widow won't budge. She's rebuilding Smyrna in dregs, each coffee fleck a phantom minaret. You slip out as muezzins drown her murmurs. Rain has washed the courtyard clean, no ash, no cartographer's confession. Only a cerulean stain on your palm pulses, slower, drowsier. A fading heartbeat. Steam blooms across the silver mirror. Your reflection dissolves into mist. Calligraphy on the glass bleeds. A Persian poem about pomegranates you copied at 16. The kettle hisses. Not water boiling, memory burning. You pour saffron-tinged coffee into the thimble-sized cup your mother smuggled into Topkapi Palace. 3 sugar lumps. Never stirred. Imperial protocol insisted eunuchs drink, unsweetened, a bitter reminder of their station. But your hands no longer jump at phantom viziers. Replacements cluck about your quaint provincial habits, their oiled beards dripping judgment. The mirror clears in patches, a face emerging like islands from fog. Oil lamps catch the scar below your jaw, where the pasha's dagger grazed you during the 96 coup. Your replacement nose flares, still unaccustomed to Damascus rosewater in your pomade. History's joke. You guard sultan's concubines, yet reek like one. Grounds settle into a familiar shape, the jade key around your neck. Ottoman eunuchs carried them as symbols, literal gatekeepers to forbidden corridors. Yours unlocks nothing now. The new sultan prefers German padlocks. A moth batters the lantern, you catch it mid-flight. Wings powder your palm cerulean. For 37 years, you executed men for glimpsing less. Now release it. Defiance feels anticlimactic. Someone giggles outside your protege, teaching the Albanian concubine French obscenities. They say Madame de Pompadour bathed in strawberries. Historians still argue whether Lael, Devry eunuchs smuggled henna to dye their stubble golden. Vanity's last stand against time. Your own bottle gathers dust, replaced by walnut oil from a Venetian who mistook you for a retired dragoman. Coffee cools. The dregs sketch a face, yours, your brother's. Mothers in Ankara warned that mirror gazers lose their souls. But what's left to steal? A splash of bergamot makes the sludge swirl. You perfected this blend after intercepting a Mamluk's love letter to a coffee seller. His code: cardamom for danger, cinnamon for something ruder. Coded grindings clutter your shelf, decades of intercepted whispers reduced to pantry decor. The cerulean stain on your palm pulses. Not ink, the widow's divination dye from earlier, or residue from sealing Prince Mehmet's last letter. A lifetime smudging truths leaves its mark. Your replacement knows wrinkles. Is that jasmine, the sultana's new bath oil? You taught her maid to layer scents, rosewater under cloves, to mislead gossip mongers. Now she overcompensates. A crash echoes downstairs, the Albanian shrieking about broken perfume vials. Your old bones crave silence. Your new bones crave a second cup. You pour. No tremor mars the stream, steady as the Bosporus at dawn. 16 pounds of lapis lazuli once hung from your belt. Now your hand lifts lighter than a gull's feather. The steam rewrites the mirror's poem. Or perhaps you misremembered the verse. Someone's stolen the honey-dipped almonds. Again, let them. Let the entire palace melt into syrup. The dregs laugh up at you, a smudge shaped like Carragher's shadow puppets, lewd ones. Decades since you burned those particular scrolls, yet here's Mustafa the muleteer, eternally enthusiastic. Legacies, a persistent cockroach. A breeze snuffs the lantern. Dark leaks in, familiar as your first night in the harem quarters. Back then, you counted breaths, 8 per Quranic verse. Now you count nothing. The mirror holds only shadows. Your cup holds only peace. Lanterns gutter, each extinguished flame popping like a choked breath. Somewhere below, a lute string snaps. The palace orchestra's final surrender to dawn. Your footsteps click cold marble echoes, getting lost in corridors once mapped by touch. That jade key glints against your robe, still warm from clutching. 17th century Ottoman coffeehouses used actual keys as membership tokens, fact buried under layers of powdered denial. You kick a stray hookah mouthpiece. It skitters into shadows like a fleeing courtier. Damp radiates through your slippers. They'll blame the Albanians' broken perfume vials. Historians still argue whether Suleiman, the magnificent truly outlawed coffee, or just said he did to scare French diplomats. Either way, the palace cellars stayed stocked. A phantom clink makes you turn. Empty archways leer. Eunuchs once hid coffee grinders inside their ceremonial maces, too heavy with secrets to swing. Your own mace gathers cobwebs, its hollow core stuffed with letters to a sister who died 30 harvests ago. Wind carries bergamot and wet dog. That Venetian walnut oil turns rancid in humidity, should have traded it for decent soap. Past the bathhouse, a tilework crocodile swallows its tail. Ottoman architects believed looping patterns trapped evil spirits. Explains the Sultan's repeating nightmares. Your cup's last stain resembles the Hungarian frontier, or a goat. Depends how much sleep you've stolen. Grounds once predicted a vizier's downfall. The man tripped on a carpet 2 days later. Coincidence makes better prophecy than caffeine. Laughter seeps through a cracked door. The Albanian teaching your replacement a Macedonian drinking song. Voices slurred by fermented pear liquor. You learned that recipe from a Wallachian spy, traded for a hairpin that later poisoned a Khan. Every keepsake here hemorrhages ghosts. Stone bites your palm as you crouch. Fourth step from the cistern, loose since the 3 earthquake. Beneath it, a clay jar of Yemeni beans roasted during Mahmud II's coronation. Paper tag reads, "For the quiet nights." Your nights stopped being quiet when the janissaries rebelled. Dawn bleeds through latticework. Shadows sharpen into blades, then soften to peach fuzz. Some claim early Ottoman coffee tasted of burnt apricots. Only fools believe the sacred bean myths. You munch a forgotten almond, sweetness curdled by decades of pipe smoke in the rafters. The sultana's monkey chitters overhead, still drunk on fermented cherries. It once stole your favorite cup. Now you let it raid the kitchens, let it rule whichever scraps this palace still offers. Your key leaves a crescent indentation in your palm, shallower than during the siege of 87. Back then, you held it till blood blotted the lion engraving. Now it's just metal, just stone, just the last stubborn ember in a doused fire. Wind snatches the hem of your robe, flapping like those hideous Prussian flags the new vizier adores. You trace the fish scale pattern on the courtyard wall, each groove memorized during midnight vigils, each chip a tally of coups survived. A servitor's broom rasps in the distance. They'll find your jar eventually. Let them taste the dregs of better eras. Your shadow stretches thin, dissolves, reforms as a watermark on the stones. Sunlight licks the courtyard tiles, one pink tongue erasing the night. Where your coffee stain pooled, only a damp circle remains. The palace's last shrug. You breathe. The jade key doesn't. The last lantern's sigh fades into plaster walls. Its smoke curling like a question mark. No one answers. Your slippers brush powdered sugar from some forgotten vizier's feast, crunching faint as moth wings against stone. That jade key rests lighter now, its edges worn smooth by 100 midnights of gripping. They say Ottoman coffeehouses kept their doors unlocked for dreamers. Turns out locks only slow the inevitable. A draft carries the scent of overripe figs, sweetness clinging to cracks in the tiles. Eunuchs used to whisper that coffee grounds could seal fractures in porcelain. Patching breaks without erasing them. You press a thumb to the courtyard's fish scale pattern, ridges worn soft as old velvet. Dawn unravels the shadows, stitch by stitch. Threads of gold mending what darkness unraveled. Somewhere a mule brays, its complaint muffled by ivy swallowing the stables. The Albanian's laughter dissolved hours ago. Fermented pear liquor settling into floorboards as sticky residue. Your jar of Yemeni beans sits undisturbed, its label fraying into fibers softer than lamb's ear. Let them find it. Let them taste the woody bitterness of patience, roasted slow over decades. Stone warms beneath your palm, sun bleeding through latticework to dapple your sleeve. Ottoman architects swore repeating patterns trapped chaos. Yet here you stand, unlooped, unchained. A single brushstroke on parchment. The sultana's monkey dozes in a sunbeam, chest rising falling like a bellows breathing ash. You slip the jade key beneath a loose tile, its lion engraving kissing dust, its weight dissolving into the palace's marrow. Wind tousles your hair, carries the ghost of a Wallachian lullaby. Your shadow stretches thins until it's just a watermark, a tea stain, a breath held too long. The last coffee puddle evaporates, leaving a ring of salt, and the quiet certainty that dawn, too, is a kind of cradle. 3 heartbeats of silence, then a final whisper, breathier than the rest. Sleep. The janissaries have retired, the beans have cooled.